Listen, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rule changes.
Oh shit! All right, let's just fucking do MVF and rule changes. Like, I'm down.
We don't need to force anything, I guess is all I'm saying. Yeah.
The content, we got enough to work with.
Welcome to The Floor is Ours, the podcast that is not as wholesome as the Traitors finale.
How could it be? It's run by Two Angry Bros Productions.
I'm Luke Melanie. I'm coming to Traitors from a RuPaul's Drag Race and Survivor fandom.
I'm Max Bass, and I'm a Summer House guy. But I also dabble in Love Island, a little bit of Love is Blind, a little bit of Housewives here and there. I'm kind of a reality, versatile role player.
No idea where to go next either. I have no idea what you're going to watch next, but I'm excited to see whatever's going to happen.
Well, hopefully we jump on the Survivor train and maybe get a pod out about that. But Luke, the Traitors concluded last week. We had a finale. We had a reunion that was a kind of a fizzle. What were your thoughts on the reunion?
It really was background to me. There was not a single moment that stood out from it. There is nothing that we really learned that I felt I needed to know. Maybe the Brit to Danielle, we'd only spent 3 hours together cumulatively statement makes me feel more embarrassed for Danielle, but that's just piling on at this point, right?
Yeah, she came in, Danielle clearly came in very aware of all the conversation around here, trying to get ahead of certain narratives, like the grandkids thing. I thought the reunion was really tired. I think that it made me think that ultimately when reunions are really the most interesting, when people are kind of forming real relationships, the shows where they're actually dating each other and there's real romance involved. That's where the reunions really get juicy. But in this case, I'll tell you what did have a great reunion: Summer House. Shameless plug. But the game show reunions are there's not as much tea to be spilled.
I mean, how many times can we have Bob the Drag Queen saying, I don't know who you are, because he runs in a totally different social circle than everyone else here? Like, it's fine that he doesn't know who you are. You shouldn't be upset that he doesn't know who you are. You weren't going to cross paths outside of the Traitors forcing your paths to cross.
And honestly, that was my one takeaway from the reunion is, like, Bob the Drag Queen was in 3 episodes, but he talked for 50% of that reunion. They would ask someone else a question and he would answer it. I was, quite frankly, I was annoyed.
I think they produced it that way. I don't think that they had enough content to fill that hour without it being half Bob the Drag Queen, who was there just for excitement.
Damn it, it's usually me who sees beyond the edit, but here you are recognizing that the editors had to give us Bob the Drag Queen, otherwise they had nothing to work with. Well, honestly, the reunion, in my view, was a dud. There's no need to discuss it further. Luke, it's time to award the most prestigious award in reality television podcasting. It's time to award this season's MVF, the most valuable faithful. I'll let you go first because I have 2 options. Never getting boxed in again.
Wow. All right. In that case, I really want to give my 2 options out the gate and see if I overlap with you.
Okay, that's fine. As long as you have an award recipient and a runner-up.
Okay, award recipient, and then we'll alternate. I'll let you go award recipient, and that way if we come back to my runner-up, then that'd be great.
That's fair.
Gabby's my most valuable faithful through and through. My regret from last episode is not giving. It isn't that I didn't give Gabby the title of gamer. She could be. I just don't think she wants to be a gamer, right? You could bestow the title on her, and she'd be like, no. Duh. She doesn't want it at all. And that's fine. But part of it's inherent to being a gamer is wanting to have the gamer title.
I totally agree. If this were NBA awards voting, she would probably be the unanimous MVF. She is absolutely my number one pick as well. But my wild card runner up, not from the winner's circle, I'm plucking Derek.
Ah,
And
okay.
I'm
I
plucking
like it.
Derek because Derek did everything right. Derek knew who to go after. Granted, he suspected Brittany, but he knew Bob. He knew Rob. He set Dylan up for Rob the next day. He teed him up. He was sniffing out. He played real smart. I think that he had everything it takes. He also kept his theories to a trusted circle. He didn't lead any witch hunts against people who didn't deserve it. Derek was someone who I think um, probably never could have won because he's too much of a gamer and because of his reputation prior to coming on the show. But I do think that when it comes to value to the faithfuls, Derek Derek batted above his average, and therefore maybe he's most improved. But in this case, since we only have one award, I'm giving him the MVF.
The 6-man award.
Yeah,
I
six
think
man. Yeah,
I think he struck a good balance between the round table and the scramble. I guess is what you would call it, with the after event time where they're all sort of just sitting around in 5 or 6 different rooms. He had a really good balance between those, and I agree. If they followed his instruction and ousted Boston Rob, I don't know. He may have actually been able to make a case for himself to keep going through and being too powerful, right? And
I
uh,
I think he would have
he,
sniffed out Danielle. He would have sniffed out Danielle. He would have got her out much earlier. I just think he was one of the sharpest people in the game, and I wish we got to see more of him. All right, Luke, who's your runner up?
Sam, who? Sam. Just
Who?
for this, the best actual takeaway from the reunion was that Tom blew it. That Tom absolutely ruined what was a dead trap for the Traitors. That the
And
entire game could have ended that night, and that had to have the producers holding their breath, like, "Oh my God, Tom, we need you to say something now." I imagine Tom had something in his earpiece where they're going, say something, you do it now."
not only that,
Because
Tom's at the reunion and be like, "No, I knew what you were doing. I knew what you were doing," as though that made it better.
yeah, that made it so much worse. If you knew what he was doing and you just broke it, and that was a moment that I really thought we were missing something. We were missing a connecting piece of that breakfast, that something happened that changed the topic of conversation or something. But no, it turns out that Tom just blew what is the singular best traitor trap and would have gotten a traitor who had no heat on her at all. Carolyn had nothing on her at that point.
At all. And I think from what Tom said at the reunion, it did seem like he felt bad for Carolyn because they're both weird, and he was trying not to get a weird person outed, and that's why he's like, no, I knew what I was doing. I was just like, I felt bad. Like I think he thought she was a faithful, and so he was defending her, but like truly, there's no excuse. It made it so much worse. Um,
The only snippet from the reunion that I think should be clipped and posted is that segment where they talk about that. That's it.
exactly. I am not going to pick a runner-up since you made me pick my runner-up as my MVF. My runner-up was Derek. My MVF was Gabby. Recently signed to United Talent Agency UTA. Gabby. She gained the most Instagram followers coming out of this season and might be a bona fide star.
As someone who
C-list.
doesn't know where UTA lives, are they gonna? Is she gonna be doing more game shows? Is she gonna be doing a reality show about her marriage? Is she? What's she gonna do?
I have no idea. Based on her vibes, I could see her doing more owned digital content of her own. Maybe YouTube series, her and her wife type vibe, podcast. Um, content that she owns rather than participating in someone else. But that's based on UTA and the amount of digital creators that they represent that we work with, Twitch streamers, YouTube vloggers, TikTok stars, and that's based on Gabby's overall vibe. Gabby is she's a lone. I'm not even gonna say wolf. She's a lone cat. She does her own thing. She dances to the beat of her own drum, and she is not someone who I could see participating in another game show. As you said, she's not a gamer, but or she wouldn't accept the title of gamer. But who knows? We'll
It
see.
does come with a prize. Gabby, you are welcome on the pod anytime, any topic. We'll let you have the mic as long as you want. Gabby, come and join us. Why not?
We can't wait to see what's next for you, as long as it includes the floor is ours. The floor is yours, Gabby. The floor is yours on this show.
We're so ready for a guest.
All right, Luke. I'm gonna start DMing the car. I'm gonna start DMing the cast now. All right, Luke. It's time to chat. What would you do if you were the producers for season 4 of The Traitors, which Alan Cumming confirmed during the reunion? Let's talk rule changes. I got a bunch, but you said you had something to get off your chest that you'd already been talking about for the season. So I'll let you want to get that off, and then I'll pop off with mine.
I'm gonna do two. One is for the producers of the Traitors, and one of those is for the producers of the pod, us. The one for the pod is a beyond the edit section, a segment where we identify, hey, where's the spot where we feel like we missed the most, or a spot where there's something that was said that we missed, because Dolores's "I will kill you" from the finale really couldn't have been like a standalone statement. There's no way she walked into the room, said to Dylan, "If you're not faithful and you don't take me to the end, I'm gonna kill you," and then left. Right? There had to be more. So I think I want a beyond the edit section where we can then try to fill in some of the gaps, or request to some folks that they help us fill in the gaps.
The place I'd look to first and foremost is the Dylan versus Brittany roundtable. I mean, the argument that Dylan put up was maybe 9 to 10 words of him looking incredulous and having a red flushed face. Meanwhile, Brittany read him the riot act, and all of a sudden everyone voted for Dylan. I think we saw 40% of that.
Okay, and now for my actual gameplay rule, give a seer every week. Right? Make it a part of the weekly competition and see what happens. You may need to introduce another cast member or two in order to accommodate for this and still get your episode count. But I think that if you introduce that power, it'd be really interesting to see what shook out. And you could even rig it early on to give it to a couple of traitors really early, just to see what happens. And let it ride, because it was a really cool premise that ended up being kind of useless.
I couldn't agree more. I don't know if I do it weekly. I think that might get to be a little bit too much with the shields and the banishment and the killing and the seer. It might be a little bit too much. Every roundtable would be so solely focused on the seer rather than like different opinions and theories and the facts that everyone's collecting. But I agree, the seer needs to happen earlier. And the one kind of issue that we need to get past is the seer needs to happen at a time when the seer can be verified telling the truth or not. So that puts more pressure on the seer. It puts more pressure on the group to believe that person. It creates a tense roundtable. Let's call it mid-season, something like that, where there's 12 players left. I really need that to be something that's more significant than it was in this past episode. I think even if a faithful had won it, it really wouldn't have been that consequential, because they clearly knew Brittany was a traitor anyways.
Every 25%, or maybe every time after the traitors get to recruit, like, you don't tell the people that it's, hey, after the traitors recruit, you get a seer, but you do it that way, kind of thing. I think that'd be fun.
All right, so I have some rule changes, and before I get into them, I'd like to cite my sources. I have talked to my girlfriend Lauren. I read a Vulture article that gave me some thoughts as well. I didn't take much from the Vulture article. They had some suggestions that I'd already been tossing around, and they articulated them in ways that I wouldn't necessarily execute, but I do want to give credit where credit's due, and be honest about the content that I've consumed around this subject matter, so that I'm not charged with plagiarism or anything crazy like that. So my first rule is that the prize pool needs to be increased significantly, and it needs to be not split, but each person gets the amount that they total to. That removes the incentive to just cut people for more money, but you still have the traitor or faithful mystery to deal with. I don't want to see greedy people. I don't believe that we'll have a future season with everyone like Gabby and Dylan and Dolores and all the non-gamers. As long as we're inviting gamers to this party, it's gonna get messy at the end. And quite frankly, I don't want to see what happened to MJ again, just because of money. I want to happen because of the structure of the game and then believing that she's a traitor. Otherwise, I would love to see unlikely. I loved seeing unlikely pairs, unlikely trios, unlikely foursomes, win together. That was magical.
Yeah, the hug between Gabby and Ivar to end things was really really heartwarming.
Heartwarming.
I'm on board with this idea. I think that finishing with 4 faithfuls is the riskiest play, and therefore
Exactly.
should be rewarded the most. Yeah, either everyone gets that amount, or there's a multiplier, something like that, for every
Love it.
additional person that is still in it at that
Yep.
point, because
Yep.
then you could add in another decision tree at that point. You could say, hey, at this point, do you think there are no more traitors left? And if so, you can vote that way. And if you get unanimous votes, we end the season right here.
And
right?
at the very
That'd
least,
be drama.
At the very least, if you vote out a faithful at the fire, you should be penalized. And they should lose money from the pot. So that's my first one. Second one is, and this I'm just pulling from Australia straight up. The shield, at least at some point, maybe not every shield, but some shields need to protect you from banishment, not just murder. It's really a bummer to see people fight and get the shield, and then you're like, oh shit, there's the round table first. It's just unfair, and I think that seeing someone at the round table act without and speak without the fear of being banished adds a whole nother layer of complication, because they are thinking very short term and not thinking about the fact that tomorrow they won't have the shield, and so they might say some of the most unhinged theories that they have. So I think that would be a nice implementation for season 4.
Yeah, that gets closer to, in Survivor, it was always such a huge deal that someone could go on a run at the end and win 3 or 4 contests in a row for the icon or whatever it was that Survivor was using.
The immunity idol.
The immunity idol. I got to get the lingo back. The immunity idol, and that was a huge threat that could happen, and it's just not a threat in Traitors, and it really should be, because you got to balance the money gain with the, hey, are we really gonna vote CT off right now? Back the question.
You gotta add a little bit more reward for the shield, because a shield sounds impenetrable. And if it can get penetrated by banishment, to me it's not a shield. It's not a shield. It's a selective force field. My next rule change, Luke, is I want some sort of penalty for eliminating faithfuls. Ultimately, and this is the one where I start to really consider what Vulture wrote, but it's just I think that there's this, it's necessary for a bunch of faithfuls to get eliminated. Even though they're traitor hunting, it is necessary for a bunch of faithfuls to get eliminated. And while that necessity means that penalizing people is inevitable, I still think, and maybe it's only early in the game, maybe it's during certain rounds. If you do it 2 or 3 times in a row, you penalize them. But ultimately, it's just it kind of makes traitor hunting less important when you know that eliminating faithfuls is inevitable and has to happen in order for the game to progress. And people are just throwing out whatever theory they want. The coffin theory, we got it. We got to squash the coffin theory. You know what? You know what? Maybe they're a little bit less obsessed with these coffin theories and actually looking for suspicious activity like Danielle. If they know that, oh shit, if we eliminate our third faithful in a row, we lose 50K from the prize pot.
I kind of disagree with this one. I don't want it. I think the value of eliminating a traitor is actually already so small, because so often when a traitor gets eliminated and then immediately gets replaced, and to me, there have been times through the seasons where they get a traitor and suddenly they're still down a number. And so the advantage is small. So finding that game balance, I don't have it there. Not for me.
I like a he's on fire type approach to it. It's not every time. But if you eliminate 3 faithfuls in a row, to me, you got to slap them on the wrist a little bit, because these people they're playing the numbers game. They're not playing the traitor hunting game, and you got to direct them back towards what they're there to do. I understand it has to happen, but you got to have some level of consistency. My last rule, Luke, is a casting rule. No more pals. No more people with history. No more pals. No more Larsa Pippen, Marcus Jordan. No more Danielle and Brittany. No more CT and Trishelle. Let's not incentivize the fantasy of we're going to win together. Why would I kill my friends? People make friends on this show, as we've seen, and it's fine if people know each other, but people with like true history, to me, it spoils the punch.
Okay, that's fine. I'm on board with that, as long as the first night there's no murder, no banishment, and unlimited drinks. Do both of those. Do that, and I'm totally
that's
in
a great episode.
On this rule.
That's a great episode.
Phenomenal episode. I don't even care what happens. Someone is making a fool of themselves on that episode, and someone's making a ton of friends on that episode. So, I don't want additional buddy system in. I think the Danielle and Britt example doesn't necessarily mesh as well as some of the others, though, given that Britt actually screwed Danielle over and then did again, which I thought made for great television. So I would take enemies again.
She didn't even want to. I mean, I agree. I agree. It made for great television, but like, she was doing everything she could to not do it, and they were trying to play their own game up until the very end. And maybe it was better because of that. But I was so sick of their relationship up until that point that it was underwhelming for me.
Okay,
anticlimactic.
So here's the edge for me. What about Tom and Chrishell?
Tom and Chrishell is fine. Chrishell was a friend of his girlfriend or his and she wasn't on Vanderpump that I know. And so the history there to me was off TV. The public didn't know it, whatever it was. And so I think, ultimately all these people, it's hard when these people are like, there's only so many shows that have so many networks that have reality shows on them. And so there's going to be some ties in between these people, but people who, I think we were all shocked to learn that Brittany and Danielle only knew each other for 3 hours, because Danielle was acting like they were classmates from 3rd grade.
Yeah, so maybe it's not the same season competitors, particularly for the gamer side. But 100%. I agree. I don't need the buddy nonsense.
I'm keeping
lessons that should have been learned from CT and Chrishell.
And I'm glad it didn't bite us.
Trishelle. Got my shells wrong.
Any parting thoughts on the season, Luke? Any cast members you hope to see for season 4?
I'd love to see Parvati again. I want her back in the game. Maybe Brit's headbands towards the end really started to sway me, and her appearance during the chess game, like she's still around. She's still a gamer. And I think in the Discord we've had some bus sightings for her, so I think she wants the cash real bad.
No parting thoughts on the season, but I want to see more. I want to see an athlete or two make their way into season 4. My real push right now is for Marshawn Lynch. I think he would make a fantastic contestant on the Traitors season 4. They're already starting to leak some cast members, but looking forward to almost a year from now when we get to do this again.
If you're watching on YouTube, drop a like, give us a comment, and subscribe to the channel. If you're watching on Apple or Spotify, make sure to follow us, download the pod, support us. We appreciate you.
Dude, how confident are you that Vulture article wasn't written by an AI bot?
I have no idea. I didn't pull anything from it. You know what? Let's just acknowledge that the reunion happened at the top and just not really speak on it. Like it was not. There's nothing to really highlight.